So I'm sitting here looking at this motor and picking all the crud out from down in here that was just sitting there, and I happen to notice this. All this crustiness right here on the valve cover. I think that was actually coming from stickiness there. It's actually coming from a leaky petcock. Because if we look over here, that thing in there is pretty sweaty and it looks like it's leaking on the table. And how these Vulcan 500s work, actually a vacuum signal is sent to this petcock, because as you can see there is no off. It's just reserve, prime, and on. And how it works is a vacuum signal is sent right here to the back of the petcock, and nothing is supposed to flow out of here without a vacuum present. So, long story short, looks like we're going to need a petcock, and we'll have to clean this bike up. And once the carbs are in the ultrasonic cleaner over here, and once they get done, we'll get them all rebuilt and put them back on here and clean this all up in the meantime while we're waiting. Let's see if we can get this thing to make some noise. Alright, so carbs are all cleaned and rebuilt. Pretty nice. Something I did notice over here is these carb boots are like offset. See how it kind of angles? And I'm kind of wondering if this mark right here isn't an indicator for top. But it seems to me that the carbs would be pointed down. So I think I'm going to rotate this until the carburetors sit the most on like a flat level plane in there. And then I'm sure wherever they sit on here they'll go onto the carbs easier probably, and also onto the motor. So yeah, carbs all rebuilt. Oh, this boot right here had a little tiny crack in it, and then I put some black RTV on it just for a temporary fix. I got some on order. And that petcock, leaky petcock over here, I did order that. It was only 12 bucks, so I figured why not. So, but I'm really raring to see if this thing will make some noise. So I think I'm about to wrestle that thing back in there in a couple minutes here. And yeah, another eBay purchase is this ultrasonic cleaner. I bought it last summer, and it's excellent for cleaning carbs and small parts or whatever. And I would say the only thing is I wish I had it was a bigger unit, because it comes with this little tray here. Put your parts on there and clean it, and then you can pull this out when the water's hot. But because it's a small unit, you put these carbs in there, sometimes they don't go all the way in, see? So sometimes you got to run it like an hour on that side and flip them over and run them an hour on the other side. And it's got temperature settings and a timer on it. Yeah. So what I do if they don't fit all the way in there, in order to heat the water up good, because you can't just throw a lid on there, it won't go on, you know. I actually wrap it with aluminum foil. Kind of holds the heat in and lets the water warm up. And the solution that I use is a mixture of dishwashing detergent and this simple green cleaner. You could buy it at just about any retail store, Walmart, or whatever. Yeah, and then I go get a pitcher of hot water and dump it in there. And yeah. So, yeah. Let's see if we can get these things on there and see if it'll make some noise now. These carbs are pretty simple actually to rebuild. Hopefully the seats will made up nice and we won't have any leaks or anything the first shot. I do actually, if I keep this bike for any amount of time, I think I'm gonna replace the exhaust, probably with just like an M-Glow, like a M-Glow turnout universal type exhaust on there. And then instead of wrestling with this air box every single time I try to rejet the carbs or clean them, or you know, any kind of carb adjustment, tuning or whatever, I gotta wrestle the carbs in and out of here. Let me tell you, it was a chore. So what I'm thinking is, if I just replace this with a couple of pod filters and put them on the end of the carburetor, should be good enough. Get some more airflow probably that way anyway, and then rejet the carbs to match. Yeah, looking a little naked right now. Still need to get her cleaned up, and then I'll throw them carbs on there and we'll be back with you. Alright, we get the carbs back in there, finally. Boy, it's a chore. Still could be better, I guess, right around here. It's not quite on there perfect yet, but really I just want to see if this is going to run and how well it's going to run. I might take them carbs back out to rejet them, I don't know. Anyways, carbs are back in there. We got some fresh good gas in here. Tank's just sitting on there, but everything's hooked up. Put a new battery in there. I guess, let's see what we got here on attempt 1 of really getting this thing going. Fuel switch is on. Key is on. Let's see. Choke on. It's kind of cold. Gas is on reserve. Okay, yep. Cables aren't quite right either, but I'll adjust those later on so it won't snap back. You always want to have that snap back for safety purposes. But we're just seeing if we can get her to make some noise. Then we'll smooth everything out. Here we go. The bowls are empty right now, so the first Ugga Duggas are just going to be filling the bowls. I'm just checking for leaks here and don't see anything yet, so keep her going. Made a little putt-putt. Choke here, maybe, I don't know. I have the idle set too low. Alright, it might just be too cold, I don't know. We'll get back with you in a minute and see if we can get this thing going. Alright, I ran a heat gun on it for a little while just to warm up the motor just a little bit, so that finally it did fire. It's about 28 degrees here in upstate New York today. But as you can hear, it is running. Not really smoking or anything, so. Yeah, getting on. Yeah, running on both cylinders. Let her warm up for a couple minutes. You can still have to change the oil in this. It's got the proper amount and it's just black and nasty. Looks like it needs an oil change, so let it warm up a couple minutes and we'll get right back with you. Okay, so she's warmed up a little bit. I got the choke off. It's actually running pretty decent. Carbs are holding, they're not leaking or nothing, so it's idling pretty good, no funny noises. I guess we're just going to let it warm up for a few more minutes and then we'll change the oil and I guess we'll start putting her back together. I
got a few other things in mind for this. It needs a speedometer drive still and a speedometer cable. And I'll have to order a chain for it. And then this might be ready for its new owner. So if you're interested in this bike, leave a comment below. I'm in upstate New York. If you want to come pick it up. The 96 Kawasaki Vulcan 500. It's the rare shade of dark or midnight purple, I'd say. Midnight purple metallic. But yeah. Oil change coming up. Alright, oil change on the 96 Vulcan 500. Oil filter is located here. Drain plug is located here. The drain plug is a 17 millimeter. What I like to always do is use a 6-point socket instead of a 12-point socket so you don't strip out that drain plug. Another thing I'd like to mention is sometimes working on bikes, a standard automotive drain pan doesn't fit under there. So what I usually do is go to your local Dollar Tree or whatever store and get these little dish pans. You can see they're probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches tall. But that'll slide right under there, hey? So, yeah. Redneck tip of the day. So I'll just crack this loose. Bike's still warm. We're just running it. Let me see here. Yeah. There we go. Well, it looked a little more dark through the looking glass there. It did have the proper level on it. And now I see the oil coming out of there. It's not real bad, but let that drain for a minute. We'll get a rag and wipe the drain plug off. Google tells me that this bike's oil capacity is something like 3 and a 3.11 quarts with a filter change. Put the drain plug right here. You guys don't let me lose that, alright? See if we can crack the filter loose. Just going to try to use this kind of universal oil filter wrench for this. Slide it on there and see if we can get a grip with this thing. I don't know. Might be too small. Nope, I think it got it. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Alright. There we go. Whip this filter off. Common size. I found this. This is an STP, but I actually found a 6017A. You can find them right on the shelf at Walmart. At least at my local Walmart you can. I think Walmarts are all a little different now. I don't know why they can't all carry the same stuff, but we'll let that trickle out a couple minutes. Not going to bore you guys with having to watch this, so we'll get back with it when we get the stuff back on there. Alright, that is done draining. Drain plug is back in. Snug them up. That's good. Wipe all this stuff off of here. It's clean when we go back together. You always check to make sure that the rubber ring, this rubber ring, isn't still stuck here before you put your filter back on. grab the filter. Just a cheapy Walmart frame. Quick comparison. Pretty similar. Same part number. Drop oil on the seal. Alright. Spin that puppy on. Now I don't use any tool on this. I just get it as tight as I can with my mitts and call that good. I think if you use a tool on it, you probably damage that seal and make it that much harder for the next guy to get that thing off. And since the next guy might be me, why would I want to do that? So, let's see. We got that plug in there. We got the oil filter on. Guess the next thing to do would be to put the oil in it. Let's see. Zoom you out. Sorry guys, getting you all shook up and dizzy. Oil on this one goes right in here. I think you can see that. Let me see. What are you looking at? Yeah, right in here. Move you over a little bit. Okay. Oh boy, that is tight. Grab something, coax it very gently here. Let's see if I can. Yeah. There we go. This bike did set for a while, so it's got a bunch of corrosion and stuff, but I think with the little elbow grease and maybe Eagle One makes a product called Never Dull, and a lot of times that'll clear that up. I even know some old school bikers that saturate it with Marvel Mystery Oil and then come back with ultrafine steel wool and kind of buff that. I mean, there's a lot of fixes. You could even make sure we got your O-ring on there. You could even you know, take this down and polish it and all that stuff, but I'm not going to do that. Maybe the next owner might want to do that. For you guys that don't know me and haven't really watched the channel much, I buy power sports that are pretty much abandoned, or people give up on projects and things, and I buy them, fix them up, get them going again. Normally find another home for them. Sometimes I like to use them for a little while first, you know. I like to say I don't have to own every toy in the world. I just want an opportunity to play with each one of them. Anyway, back to the task at hand. This motorcycle calls for 1040. Right here, use 1040 motor oil. So I'm going to go ahead and use this motorcycle 1040 Valvoline. Because this hole right here is so big, I think I probably be able to get it in there. I hope so. Let's see. You probably can't see what I'm doing because my elbow's in the way, or I'll if I hold it down here. Oh, look at that. Thanks Kawasaki for making that hole just that size. I think I mentioned earlier it is cold today, but it's getting to be probably about 11:30 a.m. It's warming up some, so get this oil in here and we'll run this bike a few more minutes, let it get through a complete heat cycle. Run some gas through it, you know. Luckily though, those carbs are looking still nice and dry. They're not sweaty at all. It's not leaking at all by any means, and it seemed like it was running good. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you got it the first time, because those things are just a monster to get out of there. This liquid gold here, Middle Eastern liquid gold, we want to make sure we get every drop of that. Between this and gas prices, am I right? Wow. Do the same thing there. Seems to be a working technique. Kind of even holds the bottle. I don't even have to touch it. It's really not bad of a bike. I mean, if we had nicer weather, I'd take this thing down the road and rip it myself. Better looking without, excuse me, without that goofy looking windshield and the crushed saddlebags. That's I'm not a fan. If I was to ride this thing though, I think I'd put louder pipes on it. Probably different handlebars. You know, some white wall tires. This thing probably could use some tires. Like I said, it did set for a while, so the tires are probably dry rotted. When you're out on a bike, 60 mile an hour or so, ripping down the road on these two wheels, you don't want to have a blowout. You know, a new set of tires can be had, you know, 150 up to, you know, whatever you want to spend. You can spend 150 bucks and get halfway decent tires. Or, you know, it's just not worth risking your life for 150 to like 300 bucks. Just get them, man. If you need tires, just get them. It's not worth it. Let that set. Whatever way is gonna help it to drain. Maybe that way. Pick up the mess here. So that's 3 quarts. It's supposed to be 3 and 3.11 or something. That's 3 quarts, and then I'm going to start it up and run it a few minutes. And then we'll turn it off after maybe 3 minutes of running it. 2-3 minutes maybe. Just let the oil circulate for a couple minutes, and then we'll shut it off. We'll let it settle down. This bike has a looking glass. Actually, it's here. The bike's got to be level in order to get a reading there. Looking glass, you can see all that new oil sitting there. Well, I can see it. I don't know if you can, but yeah. All right. Well, a little more here. A couple drops. All right. Good enough. Spin this cap back on. Actually, we're gonna wipe that, and we're gonna spin this cap back on. Had to crush that O-ring too much. O-ring doesn't really look stock. Looks like something somebody threw on there, but I'm gonna leave it. Snuggle do ya. There ain't no pressure on that cap, so. All right, so we'll start her up and check the oil and whatever. All right, so I'm holding the bike up level. It's up straight up and down. And then we'll look down here at this oil window here. You can see the upper line, to which my oil is up near there somewhere. We'll check it again once it's warmed up a little bit and it's not so thick, but calling that good. Did take more than what I thought. It's about 3.5 quarts actually. Maybe the oil capacity was 3.6 something, I don't know. Always check for yourself though. Don't take my word for it. Alright, we got the seat back on. Gas tank's bolted on. It's running pretty good. Carbs are doing good, they're not leaking or anything. It's not smoking. It's a pretty good running bike actually. Check the lights out here. High beam, low beam, yeah. Check some turn signals here. Yeah, that one's working. The other one. Yeah, that one's working. Check the back. Yep, that one's working. Yep. L horn. Yep, that works. Coming along pretty decent. Well, I feel like this segment's getting pretty long, so we're gonna wrap this one up for this video and call this part 1. And stay tuned for part 2 when we put on the speedometer drive, the speedometer cable. We'll get the speedometer back on it. We'll get all that sorted out, and if you like these type of videos, give it a thumbs up so I know which videos you like and which ones to keep posting more of. If you like all the videos from my channel, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, YouTube.